Ready for the video?
Yes, this will be great.
Perfect.
No
That
richness
shocked me,
in
I loved
soil,
it.
then you have forsaken the planet. By 2045,
Scary.
we will be producing 40% less.
So
now
many of my clients
is
are
soil
terrified of that.
extinction in the last
Wow.
100 years.
Seeing it really makes a difference.
The nutrient we have done
Whoa.
to our food.
Soil
That's
is the
incredible.
biggest ecosystem on the
Terrible,
planet.
but incredible.
And so
I was like, what? How long would this take?
Although with his…
And so the fact that they're talking about it is refreshing because I've actually never heard anyone talking about this before. So, amazing. It surprised me. I was not expecting it to be the answer. And then I immediately was like, of course, of course. Of course that's the answer. Like, it's what we all need.
conscious practice. What's conscious? This is Vish and…
Jami, Lynn,
And today, we'll be responding to Sadhguru's video on…
what is the greatest threat to our lives?
My name is Vish, I'm an aspiring yogi, love all things wisdom, yoga, and meditation based. Super grateful to have
Jami Lynn Beulah.
on the show. Want to introduce yourself?
So I'm a therapist. I primarily work with couples and people who want to either do trauma recovery work or things related to sexuality.
Well, thank you so much for being here, Jamie Lynn. And before we start, what do you think the greatest threat to our lives is right now?
That is such a good question. I was mulling it over whenever I first heard the title of the video, and I think it's lack of awareness. I really do. I think it's an inability to watch yourself being, because if you cannot watch yourself being, you cannot change anything. And that's the easiest way to hurt yourself or other people.
That is powerful, and let's definitely find out what Sadhguru has to say about this greatest threat. We'd also love to hear what you all think the greatest threat is to our lives. Before we start, let us know in the comments down below. And with that,
Let's watch.
We are talking about climate change, carbon emissions, and global warming and various other aspects. But we are not addressing soil. Soil is the habitat upon which zillions of lives thrive. Once there is no richness
shocked me,
in
I
soil,
loved
then you have forsaken the planet in many ways. Every responsible scientist in the world and the UN agencies are clearly saying we have only 80 to 100 harvests left. That means approximately 45 to 50 years of agricultural soil left on the planet. By 2045,
Scary.
we will be producing 40% less food than what we are producing right now, and our populations will be 9.3 billion people. The food shortages that could manifest in the next 25 years, the consequences of that is unimaginable. Civil wars will unfold across the world once there is food shortage. What we are facing now
many of my clients
is
are
soil
terrified of that.
extinction. Why is soil becoming extinct? Where is it going away? What is happening to our soil? We must understand, if you add organic content to sand, sand will turn into soil. If you remove all organic content from the soil, soil will become sand. In normal agricultural soil, the minimum organic content should be between 3 to 6%. The most minimum is 3%. At least this minimum to keep the soil alive, to keep the soil as living soil is a must. Agricultural soils across the world, the depletion is so heavy. In most countries, more than 50% of the topsoil is already gone in the last 100 years.
Seeing it really makes a difference.
The nutrient levels have dropped significantly. The level of micronutrients you would get from your food in early 20th century to what you are getting from the same food now has dropped 90%. If you ate one orange in 1920s, what you got from it, now in 2020, if you have to get the same, you will have to eat 8 oranges. This is what we have done to our food.
soil is
That's
the
incredible.
biggest ecosystem on the
Terrible,
planet,
but incredible.
and so few people know anything about it. 1 teaspoon of healthy soil probably contains more microbes than there are people on Earth.
The
actually
microbial
just
life
eat
in the
healthy
first
soil.
12 to 15 inches of topsoil is the basis of our existence. It is this magic beneath our feet which has produced the life that we are. These first 12 to 15 inches of soil is the basis of life for 87% of life on this planet, including you and me.
We have to begin to recognize that what we call our soil, Mother Earth, is a living organism.
Open soils, ripped open by plowing, open to sunlight, is the basis of destruction of microbial life. So the focus should be on agriculture, the focus should be on seeing that land is under shade as much as possible, some kind of shade, grasses, herbs, bushes, trees. Conscious Planet is launching Save Soil movement to bring about a policy change to regenerate soil. As a part of this, I'm 65 and I'm riding 30,000 kilometers, a lone motorcycle journey, 30,000 kilometers across 24 nations to activate support from the citizenry to assure the governments long-term investments will be appreciated. So it's extremely important that soil regeneration is enshrined in the policy of every government on the planet. We must change the narrative on the planet that soil is a wealth, a legacy we have received from previous generations, and we have to pass it on as living soil for future generations. We are in a cusp of time. If you do the right things now, in the next 15 to 25 years, we can significantly turn this situation around and regenerate the soil. But if we allow this to progress like this for another 30 to 40 years, after 40 years if we attempt this, then it could take 150 to 200 years because that much loss of biodiversity would have happened. From 21st of March for 100 days, the whole world, every human being on the planet should talk soil. We must hear the word soil, save soil everywhere to see that the narrative on the planet changes towards the most vital aspect of our life, the soil. Each one of you should reach as many people as you can to make this happen. Many global leaders and influencers are already participating in the movement. Be a part of this and let us make it happen.
From my part, as much as I can contribute.
We're going to save the soil. Do your part.
And saving the soils.
Our future, our children's future, and our planet's future depend on it.
Save the soil.
We know what we must do, so let's make it happen.
Let's make it happen.
Let's make it happen.
Let's make it happen. Let's make it happen.
Let's make it happen.
Let's make it happen.
So, Jamie Lynn, what's your first take?
It surprised me. I was not expecting soil to be the answer, and then I immediately was like, of course, of course. Of course that's the answer. Like, it's what we all need in order to exist here on this planet, and it is something that we've been pulling the nutrients out of for literally generations. And so the fact that they're talking about it is refreshing, because I've actually never heard anyone talking about this before. Like, not at this scale anyway. Like, we talk about how monocultures and farming in that way is really bad for the planet, but we don't actually get into what are we doing to the soil and what's been changing globally when it comes to soil health. So, amazing.
I love how you connected with that because honestly, yeah, even for me, when I first heard about soil, I was like, is that even such a big deal? Because especially with the media, and I guess what we hear, it's usually recycling, it's the water, it's global warming, all of which are still issues, not to deny them, but I love this new perspective as well, and I think it is apparently an age-old thing. So it's not like Sadhguru's discovering this per se, but he's bringing light to a very vital aspect of the environment, which also is really powerful because if you think about it, as he says, we are living soil in a way, right? We come from the ground. Either he or someone else has said that we're basically walking trees because we're always constantly connected with the earth. So yeah, that's a great perspective that you shared there. Any other thoughts with the video itself?
So I'm curious, what would they do with this Save Soil movement? What steps do you take to start bringing more nutrients back to the soil? That'd be the next step for my looking into this.
great question again. And I think from what I know and what I'm aware of, I will say that I think the two key major things that is trying to be done is, as he said, increase the organic matter of soil by 3%. So it is an actionable thing to do.
Yeah.
And the second thing is to overall increase the coverage of soil, which would protect from the sun basically drying out the soil of its nutrients. Now, the next question is, how do we do that, right? And I think the key that I'm noticing with what he's trying to do is really just bring awareness to the world. And he's really, really capitalizing on social media because that is a great tool to use to spread the awareness. The key here, which will beautifully connect with what you were saying earlier, which I would still agree with, which is one of the key issues or threats to the world is a lack of consciousness. It's amazing to see how what you said actually connects to the movement that he called it, which is Conscious Planet.
Yeah.
So I think the soil will be one part of this initiative. I'm sure there's other aspects of it, but overall, it is a lack of awareness. So I think the first key step is just to bring awareness, and that in turn will help bring about the change, because if the politicians are aware now, it'll also lead to an eventual ripple down effect. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, absolutely, that makes so much sense. And then if you get into how do we bring more organic matter into our soil, like most people throw away things that could be composted, and then that goes to landfills where it turns into gases that hurt the greater environment. And so there's so many ways that we could just like make tiny shifts to keep things closer to the earth rather than like closed in plastic and sending out gases that are bad for the ozone and everything.
100%. The change truly does start within here, right? And it's super normal to think like, oh, is this going to be that significant? But I could just see it by myself now. I mean, just 20 years ago, recycling wasn't a big thing, but now there's a recycling, can in every house. So it does make a difference, and you are a very small part of this whole, let's say, existence. So you are significant, but not important, right? So that does mean that you have a huge role, but at the same time, there's no need to take yourself too seriously, which goes on to the other problems that we've talked about that we tend to make for ourselves unconsciously, that is, which will tie into the lack of awareness and so on. What do you think about the trip that he's doing? So the key thing with that, what he's trying to do is basically drive on a bike. He loves bikes, by the way.
I love that. That's amazing.
Yeah, he's just like a stud with that. And so he's going to ride his bike by himself from London to the southern tip of India. Okay. Continuous. So that's the trip plan. And
wait, continuous?
Yes.
What?
Continuous as in, I'm sure there's maybe normal breaks, right?
Okay. I was like, what? How long would this take?
Although with his schedule, I don't know if you knew this, he actually only sleeps 3 to 4 hours a day.
Really?
He's always on the move. And I think that's something which is also something I've become really grateful for, which is something he talks about, which is how we must be appreciative for death, at least for the physical body, that is. And that simple realization or awareness will help you be as conscious with your time, and you won't waste it. So he's very conscious of his time, clearly. And I won't be surprised if he's driving his bike 20 hours a day and taking those, couple hour breaks. But yeah, what are your thoughts on that whole little mission that he has?
I love that. I imagine that it's to gain awareness, but also maybe to like see all these places and maybe connect with people along the way. Who knows? I love that.
That's actually a great take. I didn't even think about that. I'm assuming as he's driving, he can maybe through the crew shed some specific examples of what is happening to the soils in different parts of the world. So didn't even think about that. That was a great point.
Yeah. I mean, it just makes sense because you get such a diverse landscape from Europe to India. That'd be incredible.
That's a great point. So didn't even realize that. You brought some more light there. Thank you so much, Jami, Lynn, for being here. You shed some amazing perspective here. Want to tell the viewers where they can find you?
Yeah, so you can find me on YouTube at Practice Intimacy, also on Instagram, same name, Practice Intimacy. And then I have a website online, JamiLynnBeulah.com.
All of our stuff will be down below. And if you have any other video reaction requests, topics, or guests that you want to see on the show, you can also comment down below. And with that, make a great day. Take this joyful and stay conscious. Awesome job. You did great.
Thank you. Oh,
perfect.
Yes.
Switch up.
Right.